Oh shit. Yo, the Pels just made a championship winning move. The Pels are now your finals champions for 2025. How we
David
feel?
Griffin actually came through, actually made a good move, and we fleeced the team.
We went from trading Lonzo for Tomas Satoransky and a bunch of bullshit to now we give up a bunch of bullshit. So if y'all have not heard the trade, details are still coming in, but as of now, it is EJ Liddell, Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, and I believe the 2025 Lakers pick and the worst of the 2027, I want to say, Bucks pick for Dejounte Murray. I mean, what an absolute fleece. What a mascot. I was talking shit all weekend on David Griffin, man. So I'm actually pretty proud that he showed me up. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be proven wrong by the guy. I wanted to be proven wrong. And if you really think about it, yeah, man, he proved us wrong. Shout out to Larry Nance though. I'm gonna miss Larry just because he did great for the community and who he was as a person. I'm gonna miss the tweets after the game too.
Yeah,
But
Larry Nance's tweets are the best part of having him on the team.
honestly, that's probably what did it for Atlanta. They said, "Well, hold on, we get Larry Nance in his tweets. Well, fuck, here, take Dejounte, please."
You might be
Absolutely.
on to something. But no, I mean, David Griffin, all of us, we're talking about like he's going to not make a move. The Pelicans are just going to stay put. It's going to say we explored moves, we tried something, we didn't like anything. Well, we didn't trade Ingram, and we still got a great player.
That's I'm just sitting here laughing about it, just smiling because I'm like, I mean, I thought the CJ McCollum trade was pretty good. I mean, I hated giving up Josh Hart. I really did. But I mean, this is just leagues better. And I mean, we've seen some real goddamn stinkers from David Griffin these past few years. And
I just like that we're
go
finally
ahead.
not sitting on our hands because all this, we've spent years and years saying, oh, we just need one more year to evaluate. We just need one more year to evaluate. Well, we finally realized we had the sample size where this isn't going to work. We went and made a move. And if we want, we can easily make more moves at the deadline because we still have BI, we still have CJ. If they fit, we can keep them. If not, we can trade them when hopefully their value is even higher. And especially, we don't know who's going to be disgruntled at the trade deadline. Maybe we can get a really good piece then. Still need to get a rim protector, but if we fill that out, we're going to be good.
Now, let's talk about rim protectors, right? People I see, right? Mitchell Robinson. I don't know where he stands with that Knicks team. I know they're trying to make Hartenstein the starting guy. I mean, is he a guy that you can get for the Lolo right now?
See, I think he is a guy that we could get for cheap price. Really, the bigger thing is how much money is the market could command. But all the math changed because what we're thinking is we're going to get Trae Young or maybe we get Murray, but we're going to give up Ingram, and that would be our big trade. We kept Ingram. We really kept everything. We gave up a few worthless picks and bench players. So all of a sudden, we could make a play for really any center that we want. That's not a superstar, obviously, but we can really either wait and try and find the guy that's the right fit or go make a splash play now like a Jared Allen or someone who could actually be a game changer.
See, now I think really just from the a posturing perspective for the Pels. I mean, this is absolutely game changer because, like you said, right, we expected Brandon Ingram to be the piece in every single trade, and here we are. David Griffin's dropping his nuts and is like, no, we are going to go get that coveted. I will actually say third guy. I'm not going to count CJ as a guy when someone goes down because anytime his usage gets improved or he has to do more things, he just starts getting worse and worse. So you've been saying it, I've been saying it, a lot of Pelicans fans have been saying it. We need another guy. So I feel like those late game situations, that fourth quarter meltdown that we be having, I feel like Dejounte Murray comes in, he can take over, add a lot more scoring for us. I mean, we have 4 20-point per game scorers on this team right now. And what other team in the NBA has that?
This
Still
is
have
Go
most
ahead.
of our bench pieces. So I mean this was outstanding. Outstanding work from Griff. And I mean, if you're Hawks fans, you're sick to your damn stomach. You're vomiting right now. You're gonna need some Tums. I feel bad. I really do. You got a first round pick, first pick in the draft that nobody's heard of, or no one really cares. And then you trade, you can argue your best player on the team in certain situations for a box of peanuts and a New Orleans po' boy, you know?
And the big thing is we have a guy who can now be a point guard because CJ McCollum, as much as we all love him, he's not a point guard, and we saw how poorly that went. point Zion, it's fun to use, but it should be something we bring out situationally. Now we have someone that can actually initiate the offense, who can find guys, and Zion can actually play off of instead of just having to play off CJ McCollum holding the ball for 18 seconds, then jacking up a mid range shot.
I'm gonna miss those shitty ISO. BI gets denied off the screens, off ball. So then we kick it out to CJ at the top of the key. Starts dribbling to his little weak ass tween, his little cross, just to throw up a beautiful, and I mean an absolute beautiful fucking hoagie sandwich from about 15 feet out. Love it.
Especially when
I'm
we
gonna
did
miss
that
that.
coming off of a timeout where that was our set play to end the half, in the quarter, and you'd think that we just drew it up on a napkin and said, just go out there and try something.
Oh, so I got some more news that just dropped, everybody. It says the Pelicans are the favorites to land DeAndre Ayton if the Blazers make him available. So, hey, we're sitting here talking about centers. Let's talk about a center that took the hell out of Jonas in that Suns playoff series. So, hey, I'm hey, we get Ayton as our starting center. I think he'd be a pretty decent mentor for Eves. Let Eves come off the bench maybe what 10, 15 minutes a game. Just be a guy out there, man. Just run around, block shots, get rebounds. That's all we need you to do.
Yeah, so what's his contract situation looking like? Because that's the kind of move that completely changes our timeline, where all of a sudden we're trying to win now instead of like the way that we've been doing it right now. We've still just been building, because we're going to have to start paying guys. But if we make a move like that, we're going to be a team that's actually paying the taxes, actually going for thinking that we're a team that can win it.
I feel kind of bad because I was getting my shit off today. I literally tweeted out. I got out of work. First thing I tweeted, "Go business on everyone going to attack." Like, yeah, I was on one. So I mean, I don't know what DeAndre Ayton's contract is. I thought he got a new contract the year he was traded to the Blazers. Like I know he re-signed the year before. Was it not? Like we all, I
He
think it was
did.
that draft where we all thought he was going to get traded. Um, he signed a contract extension.
So yeah, I
So I
did
think
just look at
he's
that. He's going to be on a big cap hit. He's north of 30 mil a year, but his contract ends after the 25-26 season. So he would either be an expiring contract that you could trade in his last season if you need to, or if you need to get him off the books, you kind of can on the timeline where you'd have to pay some guys. Trey is going to be the big question mark, but it's really on him. If he makes the leap, then he's going to be worth paying, and I'm sure we'll figure it out.
I mean, see, look, this is supposed to be a short one. We just want to get our little emergency thoughts out. But I mean, man, there's just so much happening, and I mean, I feel like there's so much to say about this Pels team right now. I mean, it's like you said earlier, right? I mean, we have a lot more flexibility now. I mean, we have Bi and CD. We have, I mean, honestly, for the Hawks, let me hurry up and make Hawks fans' lives feel a little better right now. Because, like I said, I know they just shitting themselves right now. You get yourself Dyson Daniels, who, in my opinion, under the right situation and the right guidance and the right development program, you got yourself kind of a mini Dejounte Murray, just not as gifted scoring. I mean, defensively, I can argue that he better if maybe he's already not. And he's younger, right? He's what, 21? He just turned 21. He's still on a rookie contract. So I mean, he's going to be a pretty big piece. And also, if you allow him to play make, I feel like we didn't allow Dyson to play make a lot of times.
Well, we
We
didn't
were
allow him
watching
to
his draft
play in
growth.
general.
Well, yeah, that's also true. He just didn't see the court, and when he did see the court, it was the most unfavorable situations on the planet. So I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him that he gets to go somewhere. He seems like a good guy. I ain't gonna lie. After one of my homeboys seen him in the casino after he put up a beautiful 2 points in a very important game to affect our seeding, and we lost in embarrassing fashion. That's what I was kind of like, man, get his ass off my team, bro. I can't think so. Now he can go to Magic City after games and have a great time there. Um,
Exactly. Just be glad that
but
Aaron's not here to give his thoughts on that, because that'd make Hawks fans sad.
yeah, see, I'm trying to help the Hawks fans. Y'all, see, yeah, hey, it's like my boy saying, man. If Aaron was here, y'all would have jumped to a different fan base. I ain't lying. Man, look, y'all got a nice young player. He's going to develop nicely there. Think. Let's hope. Now, as for Larry Nance, I mean, I think we all know what you're getting out of Larry Nance. I mean, he's probably going to be trade fodder at some point. He's probably going to be a guy maybe you buy out. I mean, I don't really see him being a player for them.
At the very least, he gives
Whatever.
you vibes.
Yeah, he's gonna give you vibes. He's gonna make you laugh. That's cool. And EJ Liddell, I don't know. David Griffin seems like he's never liked EJ. Every goddamn trade I see is he's trying to just dangle EJ Liddell. He's like, oh, maybe I get a second rounder for EJ. It's like, bro, stop fucking trying to give up EJ. Nobody wants EJ Liddell, bro. So he finally got EJ off the team, but hell of a fucking fleece, man.
It
Can we
is.
say this is a fleece? I think
I'd
we can
say
say this
this
is
is
a
a
fleece.
massive fleece because just everything about it. We've replenished our war chest almost by making this move because we got a great player while keeping Brandon Ingram, while keeping CJ McCollum. So now those two guys are even bigger trade assets if we want to because we have no rush to make a move and we improved our team at
Mhm.
the same time.
Now, what's your grade on this? Because I just got a notification from ESPN Plus. The grades came out for the trade, so I want to know what you got for it. What you got for it?
I'd give this trade a solid A. There's really no risk to this deal because if Murray just doesn't work out for us at all, his contract's not that bad, and we didn't give up that much for him. And if he works out great, then we got a steal.
I'll give it A. ESPN has it as A minus. They said we upgrade our shot creation without giving up any of our own picks. There's still questions to answer, and they asked what's going to happen with Brandon Ingram because he says he no longer fits in the starting five, or in our salary structure. I mean, he definitely does fit in the starting five, so that's just cap. Say we need to save money to avoid being pushed into the luxury tax. I'm fine with going in the luxury tax, and it seems like maybe we will also, maybe Gail wants to as well. Then it says they're also curious for the vision for CJ McCollum, but this opens up options for Herb and Trey. So, and then they're saying, it's a tough sell to move McCollum to the bench. Well, I think he needs to go to the fucking bench.
I agree.
But
I mean, I think if he doesn't want to move to the bench, then you just trade him because he's at the point of his career where he's not good enough to demand being started. And like, he's a great guy to have around the team, so I like having him. But my thoughts were before I wanted him gone if we are going to get Trey because we can't have those two turnstiles out there at the same time. Murray makes it a bit different. Now you can use CJ in his off-ball role where he's better, but if he comes off the bench as a six man, that's your scoring spark plug right there, and that's perfect.
right, and speaking of Trey, everybody on the planet knows I was the Trey Young guy over Dejounte Murray. I I said initially I was 50-50. I honestly didn't care which one we got as long as we got one. I still kind of feel that way. But I was kind of selling myself on Trey because I was seeing the reports that Trey is worth less. Trey is only 25 years old. He's a 24 point per game scorer, and he averaged eight to 10 assists last year.
And just the style of those assists too. Like imagine those lobs to Zion.
Yes, yes. He's also on Zion's agency now. What, CAA? I think
Yeah,
that's where they're at. He's on Zion's agency. He left Clutch, which is always a plus in my damn book for a player. And I mean, I get it with the defense thing. I still feel like the Pelicans just giving way too much power to fucking CJ McCollum right now, who, as you said, should be a six man at this point in his career. I mean, he's due what, $30 million. I mean, I just I understand the turnstile defense if CJ and Trey's on the court at the same time. But I do feel like both of these guys, DeJounte and Trey, they both fit in their own way on this team. I would have preferred the playmaking and the shooting that Trey gives rather than the shot creation and defense that Murray possesses. Because I'm not too sure on Murray's playmaking. I think outside of rim protector, a pure playmaker is what we need. And I mean, hell, Trey could give you 10 assists a game, and he's a bucket.
I
So I
agree
mean,
there. But the good thing is Murray, he at least has experience doing some playmaking. Like, he's nowhere near Trey's level, but he's also nowhere near CJ's level of being that bad of being a playmaker. He's at least going to be able to, if we run the offense through him, we're running the offense through someone who's at least a true guard. Last season, he averaged 6.4 assists per game, which, again, it's not great, but he was in a backcourt with Trey, who was the primary initiator. If he's the primary initiator here, let's say he can get that up to around maybe 7, 8. That's a solid number, and that's a lot better than we had with CJ.
yeah, you're right there. Now, I think I saw a stat that said without Trey on the court, his numbers increased significantly. Like he was a 21 point per game scorer. He jumped up to about 25, 26 points per game when Trey was not on the court. Now, obviously, that's because he's a guy. He won't beat the guy here. I expect him to get around 18 points per game with all the mouths we have to feed. But I want to see those assist numbers go. I don't see a reason why Dejounte couldn't average 7 assists here next
Well,
season.
if you look at it, for his whole career average, it's 5.3, but in his best season in San Antonio, where he was an all-star, he averaged 9.2 assists, and that, I mean, that's a ceiling that he could realistically hit here because he's going to be our lead point guard. He's probably going to have the ball in his hands most possessions to start it. Now, We're probably going to do some point Zion. We'll probably have Ingram run it at some if we keep him, but he's going to be looking to facilitate more than score even because if we keep Ingram, he's going to be our number two. If we're keeping Zion, obviously, he's our number one. So Murray, let's say he's our number three, number four, depending on how they do the pecking order with CJ. He's going to be looking to pass the ball more. I think he can play off of Zion, and he's shown that he can average over 9 assists in a season with a Spurs team that didn't have as much talent as we have now.
Oh man, you see, you're speaking great things in my ear right now, man. Pause, pause. See, I know I'm glad Aaron wasn't here to say that. He would have got my ass. I mean, look, realistically, right? If he could hit 9 assists, and if we have a capable center, at this point, you don't need a world beater. I mean, we've been saying, right? If you make a trade for or make your splash trade, it doesn't have to be for both a big rim protector or a big point. It has to be for either or, right? And then you can kind of get away with someone like Jonas, right? Like one of those. I think Jonas is a top 10 center in the league, but I think you get away with having a top 15 guy that's just plays his role effectively. So I think now this allows us to be a little more flexible with the center position because we don't necessarily need. We could go the Warriors route here, man. We don't have to have a super crazy center out there. Just someone who's not an absolute liability on defense. You know.
I agree with that, but what I'll say is I kind of am all the other way on the pendulum where I think we really don't even need a splashy center at all. I think we need a guy who he's going to just be a rim protector for us because, for one, we saw JV, he is a great offensive center. He's a bad defensive center. But we never took advantage of his mismatches offensively because that's just not Willie's offensive philosophy. He doesn't really want to run the ball through the center, especially when we have Zion out there. The paint is all Zion's, so we really don't need a center who's going to be dominant offensively in the paint. We need an athletic guy who can protect the rim, and if we can get a guy that can also come out and switch if he has to, and at least just not get blown past like Valanciunas did every pick and roll, that's the ideal profile for us. And like even say we get like a $20 million guy who's able to fill that role instead of getting a guy like Ayton, it gives us more flexibility for the rest of the team and fits our vision more. And I think that is the mold that we should target.
I agree, man. I agree. I think I think great things on the horizon for us now, man.
I really do too. And in an unexpected way, because I was fully expecting that we were going to be going into the season having either hopefully traded Brandon Ingram for a move and got either a Murray, got a Trae Young, something like that, and then being optimistic because we made the move, but there'd still be questions. Where we are now, like the ESPN article said, the question is the fit for Brandon Ingram. Well, if he doesn't fit, then we can trade him and we can go get someone from him because he's not going to have less value now unless he just puts up a stinker when the season starts. If he goes out and he performs, his value will increase since everyone's value goes up when it's the trade deadline if they're playing well. And we could really go get a good fit. And I don't know how he's going to fit now because there's still the three-point shooting question, but either way, we have all the cards in our hands because we already made our move and we still have our asset.
And, that was something I was going to ask you, right, about the fit with Bi. But like, it is crazy that I feel like this whole process has been, we don't really have that much leverage. Teams don't value Bi. The Hawks aren't budging, and then I guess Griff sent some blackmail out to the Hawks GM, and they're like, all right, sure, yeah, take Dejounte. So I mean, he really gave us some leverage for nothing, you know. Um, and to your point of Bi's value, right? And if he comes out and perform, but that leads me to ask, will he want to come out and perform? I mean, thinking about it from his perspective, he wanted to get a max contract. The team's coming to him and saying, "You're not getting a max contract out of us." And we've seen him be in his own head quite a lot. And, you know, I'm completely, look, I'm a player's first guy, but I'm going to have to side with the team on this one. I think BI really did this to himself because I feel like a lot of players on the Pelicans seem to be this way. They're very mentally, I don't really know how to say it without saying weenie, like I usually say in the Pelicans group chats. But they're so wishy washy mentally, like they just get wavered so easily. And we've seen Bi get in his own head when he comes out of injuries to the point to where you're questioning whether or not he's just sitting on the pine, even though he can play. He just doesn't want to. He's like, I don't feel like me. You hear that from Zion, and we definitely started to question Bi as fans these last 2 years, and he comes back eventually, right? Shows us, hey, I'm still that guy. but then the cycle just continues. And he goes to, he gets coached by Steve Kerr in the USA basketball thing, gets absolutely destroyed. I feel like that destroyed his confidence for the whole season, if I'm gonna be honest.
I agree.
I mean, he got relegated to being a player that he's not, and then everybody's sitting here saying Austin Reeves is better than you. And this is a contract year. You get a hyperextended knee, and then you come back in the playoffs when this was your opportunity to show, yes, this is where I get my max contract. There's no Zion. If I win just a couple of games in the series, we can potentially get a Zion. I just have to hold down the fort. I'm the guy. And he folded. So I don't really feel bad for BI because we've asked him plenty of times. As fans, I'm sure as coaches, hey man, just shoot more threes. Shoot more threes. We've seen him shoot threes and make them. And he doesn't want to do it. He wants to keep on getting locked into this come off of a off ball screen, get the ball and shoot a mid range. We get us a shot, but like I don't know. I feel like maybe Bi requests a trade. I don't know where his head's at. I just don't really see him being enthusiastic about this. I don't necessarily see him as a guy that's like, oh, you know what? Fuck this. Yeah, y'all traded for Dejounte? Nah, nah, nah. All right, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be shooting threes all in the gym. I'm gonna come out first game of the season shooting 8 threes. Like I don't see that. I feel like maybe just for his own good, we send him off somewhere where he could be that guy. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you see, I think there's two ways that it could go. There's the way that it should go where he sees, all right, they're not giving me my max contract, so this is now a super contract year where I've got to go perform if I want it. And in theory, this should be the best year of his career because if he balls out and he does what he needs to, even if we don't pay him, someone else will pay him that max contract. But the thing is, I just don't know if he has it in him, but I don't know if that's really a Brandon Ingram thing or if that's a Pels organization thing because there's just been this culture of complacency that we've had since we've existed. There's never been any expectations. When there are expectations, we usually don't meet them, and we don't care that we don't meet them. And we just have a bunch of guys. We have Brandon Ingram having this attitude. Before him, we had Anthony Davis, who was 10 times worse. He could have been the best player in the league, but he just almost never wanted to be because he never took up that role. He never stepped up and led the team. And you saw the reason
He
why
gave
he
it to
got
Drew.
his championship was because he had another guy who could be that leader for him and basically make him do everything he had to do. And it only lasted for a season that really only lasted because they took a break in the middle of the season. But just going back, there's just been this culture of complacency within the Pels. And I think that's just an organizational problem. And it gets exacerbated when Willie Green, he's a great guy and stuff, but he's a player's coach. He's not going to be holding them accountable. He's not going to be pushing them to that. Alvin Gentry was the same way. And really, we haven't had anyone that's going to go push the players into shape, make them do what they have to, except for
Well,
one
we
year of
did.
Stan Van Gundy.
We did, yeah. Stan Van Gundy, yeah. But they
And
hated
he
him.
only lasted one
Players
year.
didn't like him
That's what I'm
because
saying.
we don't vibe with him. Oh, it's like, dog, hey, anyone in the Pels group chat, y'all know what I say all the time. Our team is full of what? Weenies. Come on now. And that's proof. I mean, you're right. We have hella complacency within the organization, and I think that's a top to bottom deal. And I know people were upset that we got rid of Teaspoon, but I ain't gonna lie to you. I was a little low key happy about that because I was like, man, she's been breastfeeding Zion this whole time. I don't want a coach that's gonna just breastfeed my players like this. I seen a more motivated Zion this year than I've ever seen. Without
He's been a completely different player. He played enough games to qualify for awards.
Yes, that he took accountability, man. He took accountability for things. He took things fucking personally, right? And that's night and day. And now he has a beard now. So shout out to him.
And
But
I also want to say, just a quick note, the fact that you have to play a certain amount of games to qualify for awards is a genius thing by the league because you can't just sit out games for no reason if you want to be the MVP.
I think it kind of waters down the awards a little bit because it seems like players just don't give a fuck. Like they asked Kawhi that, and Kawhi's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I mean, but Kawhi's never gonna win an award anymore at this point in his career. But like, for someone like let's say Ja, that's unfortunate, because or Joel,
Well,
right? He was
Ja's a
gonna be
bit
eligible,
different. That
but
was his own doing, but
that was his own doing. But I mean, still, I mean, you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're
Uh,
saying. The injuries part does suck with it, but I feel like there needs to be a thing where guys like Kawhi, it's like, yeah, if you're not going to play all the games, then I get why you're doing that, but it's a regular season award, so you need to play in the regular season for it. If you want to be postseason MVP, it's completely different. And if resting in games is how you get there, that's fair. But you can just see the league getting so watered down. And part of it is they play too many games for how they have their schedule formatted. The fact that players are traveling on a back-to-back, so you could be playing a game in LA and then travel back to New Orleans and have to play a game, lose time traveling across time zones, and be playing. So basically, just be playing later that day. It's ridiculous.
I think there was maybe I'm just completely fucking this up, but I'm pretty sure there was a point in the season where we were in LA, probably playing the Clippers, or we were just in Cali or on the West Coast, I should say. We had a back to back. I know there was at some point in the season where we had a back to back. We had to fly back into New Orleans, but we got fucking delayed, and we didn't get to New Orleans until the day of, right? Like only like what 10 hours before the game.
Yeah.
So I remember that happened, and then we were on the West Coast, and then we had to come back home and play the Lakers in an important game. But the Lakers were already on the Gulf Coast, and they've already been here for like 3 days, 2 or 3 days, and yet we had to come from the West Coast all the way back home on a back to back, and then play a Lakers team that was around the same seating as us, and this was a very important seating game for us. And they whooped our ass. They've been resting for 2 3 days, and I'm just like, the hell is this scheduling, man? That's just
I mean, it's terrible. And
BS.
like the league can't even say that they care about the players if they're going to do stuff like that. Like, it's back to backs in themselves are one thing, but the fact that you have to travel in between a lot of the times and travel across the country, so you're on a long flight. Lots of times you'll be traveling. Like if you're an East Coast team, you'll lots of times have a back to back out on the West Coast or whatever, then have to travel back home and you lose even more hours. It's ridiculous.
So what is the solution? What is the Here's the two questions. What's the solution for Pell's Weenie Hut Jr. and complacency? And what is a solution for the league scheduling?
Well, the biggest solution for the league scheduling is cutting games, but obviously they're never going to do that. The secondary solution, which the players would have to agree to this, but do you space out the season a little more and maybe shorten the offseason by a little bit, but by spacing it out, you're able to eliminate some of that travel, some of the back-to-backs. Or really the third solution is, if you're going to keep back-to-backs, make it so you either play both of your back-to-backs in the same region, or whenever you have it, it's 2 home games in a row. Especially when you're playing a team that's not coming off a back-to-back and you're having to do that, it's already unfair enough. So why not just make it where you're going to be playing back-to-back home games if you're going to do that?
I don't know. See, because we see this with the WNBA too. I think the WNBA schedule is kind of shit too. I think that really just goes into how the rookies come in. Imagine going through an entire college season and then you have like a month, and then now you're in the pros for another season. But like with the NBA, 82 games is a fuck ton of games. And look, I'm older now. I can't run and fucking jump a whole bunch of times in a damn pickup game. And these guys are running and jumping 48 minutes for 82 games. It's absurd, you know. But as far as Pell's complacency goes, see, depending on how today would have went, it would have been we're gonna fire goddamn David Griffin. But I can't do that right now. He don't put himself in a favorable position in my book. But I do think I'm gonna say a hot topic. This might be for real. Oh shit. I don't know if Willie Green's your coach. I just feel like with Willie, on paper, right? He's coached up by Steve Kerr. He should have the offensive talent, not talent necessarily, but like the offensive chops of learning from a Steve Kerr. He learned from Monty Williams, who when Monty Williams is here, we lose a game by 20, only score like 70 points, and the first thing that comes out of his goddamn mouth is, "Oh, our defense, 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 defense," which I hate it, by the way. And it seems like Willie I ain't gonna lie. I think Willie is like a friendlier Monty Williams in my eyes. In the game that James Borrego coaches, we put up like what 135 against a Mavs team. What was that? Or Hornets, whoever the fuck we played,
Yeah.
and we looked beautiful. So fix complacency. I ain't gonna say get a new coach yet, but go ahead and get some dogs, man. Go get some goddamn dogs. Go sign James Johnson again. Go have him beat somebody's ass in the locker room.
Apologies for the technical difficulties. Not really sure what went wrong there. Honestly, it might have just been Willie Green trying to shut us down before we could slander his name, but hey, we're back.
Can you imagine that? Fucking Willie Green is sitting here killing the goddamn team. Or killing the goddamn well he is killing the team. Killing the damn recording.
Dude, he might have been. Let's try it again. You want to say your thoughts about Willie Green and
No,
see if it
no,
crushes?
no, 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 no.
Well, if you're not,
We
then
gonna
I
cut
got
that.
some thoughts about Willie Green I want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, you go shoot your shit off.
Well, first of all, Willie Green, I think, broke my OBS, so I got beef with him there. But secondly,
Yep, there you go.
all right, this is his first time being a head coach. So he can develop into a great head coach. He's a really great guy. I think he's a floor raiser, and I think that he's a great head coach for a bad team. Look at when we brought him in. When we brought him in, we were shit. Like, we were a mess. We were not close to competing. We bring him in. He turns the vibes around. He gets everyone all excited, everyone playing. And we go ahead, we make a run. We go through the play-in, go to the playoffs, and look competitive against a really good Suns team. But then all of a sudden, once we're a team that now needs to contend, all that wears off, and we're not able to take it to the next level. And I think a lot of that's on him because he's not a great tactical coach. He's not going to out-coach somebody by making the better adjustments because he's just not that. That might come with time, getting more experience coaching, but right now he's not. And all the vibes, they only carry you so far. They're great if he goes to somewhere like the Pistons where they're terrible and he needs to establish a better culture. But once he establishes that culture, he gets the guys bought in for what they need in the short term, but long term, there's no accountability. It's like he's an interim coach, basically. It's the interim coach bump you see. Whenever they'll fire their coach, you'll get the interim coach. The team will perform well for maybe the first couple games, but then it kind of plateaus off once that initial motivation's off. You really see this in soccer, and I don't know if you follow soccer at all or know what I'm talking about, but with Manchester United, when they brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be their coach after they fired Mourinho, they got a crazy bump where all the players were playing for him because he is just like Willie. He is the exact same coach. He is a player's coach. The players all love him. He's great for the vibes. He's not great tactically. They got a huge bump, and they were playing so well, and they were doing great. Even the next year while he was the head coach, they were doing great, but eventually it wore off, and he wasn't a tactical guy, and he wasn't able to make all the tactical adjustments needed. So once all that bump wore off from having that new coach in there, people were being checked out mentally, and then the performance dropped. And like the Pelicans, they have a very toxic culture where they have a lot of complacency. But really, that's the thing that I think with Willie, he gave us that bump, but I don't know how much further he can take us right now, at least in this stage of his career, because he's just a vibes guy. And beyond that, I don't know if he's really the guy because he's not going to outcoach anyone. He's still inexperienced. And I think we're kind of at the plateau with him. Maybe with more talent we can do better, but I personally don't think we can fire him now, but if we could replace him, I would not be complaining.
God damn it, Dave. See, look, for those who don't know, I sat here, what, two, three times and spat out about fucking Willie Green. And then Dave comes and just and shits on me here. I'm just playing. But no, no, no. He's inspired me. I'm gonna talk my shit against Willie Green again. Fuck it. What was it, third, fourth time's the charm? Fuck it.
Yeah, Willie Green's
Yeah.
pulling some voodoo. He doesn't want to have this slander heard.
He doesn't want me to slander him. Apparently, you got off of that scot free. So I don't know. Maybe no, I'm not gonna leave it. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna talk my shit. I agree. I absolutely agree. And these are the things that I mentioned as well. I felt like he really bred this weenie culture a little bit more. He just stated this a little bit more because it's like he's a vibes guy, and I agree that coaches like him, they're good to a certain point. And I compared him to a nicer Monty Williams because I feel like he's way too goddamn incessant on defense or insistent on defense for whatever the fuck reason. And if you remember the Monty Williams days, we'd lose a game, let's say 70 to 95. And the first goddamn thing that comes out of Monty Williams' mouth is, I don't think the defense played great. We held a team to 95 points and scored 70. Are we really going to sit here and say defense was the fucking issue? I think that Willie has a backwards mind like that. I ain't calling him a dumbass or anything. His rotations are fucking dumb. I think, to your point of he's just not developed. But in my eyes, I mean, how fucking long does it take you to learn how to? He's played in the NBA. He should understand matchups and how to take advantage of them. And throughout this entire tenure here, we have not seen him take advantage. I mean, the biggest example is Jonas. I think Jonas was wasted here. Jonas can give you 15, 20 a game if you allow him to. And we didn't. We just wanted him to be a rim protector. That's not what he is. And we don't abuse any of his mismatches.
Well, especially in this
And
NBA, when you're playing all these teams that don't have a true center that could match up against him, feed him.
and we don't do it. We just keep we keep letting CJ go and ISO us to death. It let us get into a scoring drought for 3, 4 minutes. And then we've seen it, especially this season, which was the most egregious. I mean, after the All Star game, we just basically told Jonas we're not gonna fucking play you. We're gonna play Larry Nance over you. And I mean, Larry Nance gives you far less offensively than Jonas does. And I mean, hell, I even think if you even want to, you could have put Jonas in a corner and just have him shoot threes. He's a very capable 3-point shooter. He is, but we don't let him do it. And that's on Willie. And I think how Jackson Hayes developed also, that didn't help at all. I feel like Jackson Hayes made a bigger jump with Stan Van Gundy than he did with Willie. And to me, that says a lot. So I think honestly, Stan Van Gundy wasn't a bad coach. I think the timing was wrong. If Willie was there during Stan Van Gundy's time, I think we'd be in a different direction because Willie, like you said, good for vibes. But I just feel like with Willie, he's too tunnel vision in a lot of situations. Well, he's very stubborn. He calls timeouts extremely late, or he doesn't call him at all. Call him at all. He just thinks he can take timeouts home with him. I don't like how he doesn't really challenge shit at all. I mean, you can't take these challenges home with you, man. Like, fuck it. This is a momentum changing moment, and you're just gonna let it ride out. The whole 0 for 24 during the season, whenever we're down to start the fourth quarter, I don't think that's entirely on purpose. I think 60% of that is on Willie Green, and that's because rotations suck. He doesn't understand mismatches. He is stubborn, and I can't buy the inexperienced thing anymore. It's going to be his fourth season as a head coach to start. I mean, how long does it really take a guy as a head coach to develop
Well, I think
into?
with what you're saying with the rotations, what you're saying with the challenges, with not taking timeouts, you know what Willie Green reminded me of while you're saying that? You seen the movie Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell?
Yeah,
You know that scene where he's getting interviewed and he's like holding up in his hand, he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands? That's what
yeah.
Willie Green reminds me of. He doesn't. Once he's in the game, he's there. He doesn't know what to do. He's going through the game or going through the interview, but he doesn't know. Hey, what do I do with these timeouts? What do I do with these rotations? And he just freezes up there. He's just holding his hands up like a dumbass because he doesn't know what to do. They're telling him, put your hands down, put your hands down. He keeps holding them up. That's what Willie does. They're telling him, hey, call a timeout here. Everyone's screaming, we need a timeout. We don't take it until it's a 15-0 run. It's just, with Willie, he almost feels like he's slow to make these decisions. Either he's indecisive or he just doesn't know what to do. But you can't be that as a head coach unless you're delegating to your assistant coach saying, all right, you manage this. But we have JB as our assistant coach. He does absolutely nothing, it feels like, because besides the game that he was the head coach for, there is no influence of his offense in anything we do. We don't have any of the ball movement. We don't have any of the motion. We're just that stagnant ISO ball. So clearly, either he's not getting to do anything or people aren't listening. But if Willie's not going to be able to run the team by himself, if we want him for the vibes, have him delegate. We don't do that. So he's just sitting there. He just seems like he's almost lost because he's either afraid to make a mistake so he doesn't make a decision, or he just truly doesn't know what to do.
I think he's afraid to piss off the players. That's what I think. I think he doesn't want to, because there's been plenty of times, and I'm sure you can agree, where you can't fucking play CJ this game. This is a Jose game, and he'll just keep allowing CJ to just throw us into a bigger issue, or BI sucking, or Zion isn't really. I mean, you can't really sit Zion, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, there's
Yeah,
times where it's a Najee game. There's times when it's a Jordan. The shit that he did to Jordan Hawkins, terrible. I mean, you have Matt Ryan and Jordan Hawkins sucking on offense, and you refuse to fucking play them. You throw in Larry Nance and people like Najee Marshall in the game. That's what you do. You got two certified snipers when we're struggling on offense, and you won't put them in.
yeah, you'll roll
The,
out the Dyson and Najee lineup.
you roll up the Dyson and Najee and Larry Nance lineup when we're in a scoring drought. I sit there and you say he doesn't have his hands up. He has his hands in his fucking pocket. He starts brushing his waves and shit. Willie, please, my brother in Christ, please do something. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I compare him to Darvin Ham a little bit. I see Darvin Ham in him when, and that just makes me disappointed because I'm looking at Darvin Ham. I'm trying to understand why do Lakers fans hate Darvin Ham so much. I didn't think he was super terrible, but I look at it, it's like, damn, he doesn't call timeouts. His rotations kind of suck. He doesn't have a good idea of game flow or just game sense in general and game management. But I mean, obviously, Willie's more of a player's guy and more vibe like than Arvin. But I mean, the shit that I've seen and that we've seen from Willie Green, especially this season, it's like we said, right? I completely agree with the whole assistant coach thing. I mean, hell, we have Mike fucking D'Antoni on the coaching roster.
Allegedly, at
And we
least. I
can't.
mean, are you sure we have him on the roster? Because what has he
Yeah,
done?
yeah, yeah, right. Are we sure he is a coach advisor? That's what he is. And I think the year before he was an analyst for or offensive analyst or some shit like that. We have one of the best offensive minded coaches on the staff, and we don't use him. I mean, I was actually really surprised that if Borrego left, we wouldn't just throw Mike D'Antoni in that spot. And don't get me wrong, right? When Borrego actually took over the offense for that one game that Willie was gone, we looked fucking amazing on offense. And BI was shooting, and we never seen that shit again. So it is what you're saying. And I'm starting to think, is Willie a type of guy to not allow his assistant coach to do shit for him? You know?
I mean, I think part of that is when we brought him in, we didn't really have assistant coaches that had any experience with anything. So, like Teaspoon, she's awesome. Like, she's a great person and stuff. She was also there for the vibes. It's like we had a whole coaching staff of just vibes and then a shot doctor. Like, the only coach
But
who let
and
do
you know what?
anything was our shot doctor.
I've been seeing a lot of critical comments on Fred Vincent. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I might be with it. I might be with it. And I didn't like that either. I didn't like how we always expect him to fix every fucking like stop drafting motherfuckers who can't shoot. That's how you fix the shooting problem. Shit. But I completely agree. I don't see a reason why he should I give Willie 1, really 2 years max because he's just like I said, I can't buy the whole the team's injured and he's improved every year. Yeah, sure, but I don't care about the fucking improvement of the season record. I look at how did the season end, right? In the last 3 years, it's been booted out of the first round. It's been missed the fucking play in because you lose out. And then we have a good advantageous position to get the sixth or the seventh seed. We end up getting the seventh seed because we're crumbling. And then we fucking almost getting knocked out of the play in from a seventh seed.
And
So,
we get swept.
and we get swept.
3 years
So,
ago, we were competitive against the Suns with, I would say, a worse roster. You could say Zion was hurt this year. He was hurt then, and we had more developed pieces around now, and we get swept by, I would argue, a worse team than that Suns team.
a worse team. Yeah, a worse team.
And if you want to see the mentality issue, look at game one where we should have won that game. We had every opportunity. We didn't. How do we come out game two? Get blown out. How do we come out game three? Don't care. How do we come out game four? Yeah, let's just go home. Game one showed us that, yes, the Thunder had a terrible game, but should have won because they had a terrible game. It showed us they're not necessarily levels and levels above us, at least to the point that even when they have a terrible game, they blow us out. We had all the chance in the world, and instead of taking that and saying, all right, let's go fight game two, we just let them do whatever they wanted to us. Yes, they were a better team than us, but at least show some fight. At least show some desire. CJ, at least do something. Don't get 70+% of the shots taken on you end up in makes.
That is a wild stat too. I remember when I was seeing that stat for the first time that 70% of the time when CJ was the primary defender, the ball was going in.
And
And you
Willie,
don't sit the fucking guy. As a guy who just preaches defense, 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 which once again I really hate that. Considering he learned from Steve Kerr at one point when they won it. I'm pretty sure he was on the championship roster in what, 2016, 15?
yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. He was there for a masterclass offensive minded coach with the Warriors, but he takes every fucking detail from Monty Williams, who's never won shit. And to your point, right? Giving up 70% for a fucking coach that loves defense, and then you don't sit the guy, that's ass backwards in my mind. And I don't understand.
And
And you say, oh, you gotta have fight. Man, that speech was I feel like that speech bought Willie Green 2 extra years of fucking coaching time because it was like you said at that point in time we needed a coach like that, and so I think at that point the players bought in. But you're right. How fucking far can these vibes take us? You got a fight speech. It was not going to fix what the fuck happened in the Thunder game, and we did not get you got a fight speech. We got rolling out the same lineups over and over and over again. And then when they ask Willie, "Hey, are you going to throw more shooting in?" What does he tell you? He goes, "Well, we're going to just keep doing what we're doing."
well, not only that,
I
but
mean,
we
I
do
don't.
that. We roll out a lineup. He preaches defense. We roll out Jose and CJ in the same backcourt against a very tall backcourt in the Thunder, and we expect that to work. I mean, to his credit, Jose was one of our better players that series, but run him with anybody but CJ. Put him in with Dyson, and at least you have some defense. He'll be a nothing on offense, but CJ was terrible offensively that series. Do something differently. But that's the thing. Willie is afraid to adjust. He's afraid to adapt. And I get it. It's tough because if you make an adjustment and you pull your star player and he gets mad and you lose, yes, that's a tough situation. But you have to be able to deal with it. And another thing I want to say, going back to the soccer talk, one of the things that I really like that teams do as an organization, for the most part, unless you have a superstar coach, you have a Pep Guardiola or whatever, the coach doesn't set the vision for the team. You have your director of football is what they call it, or usually it'll be some position like that. They set the vision. They say, this is how we want to play. This is the style we want. This is the type of formations we want to use. And that is your organizational culture. Then they say, all right, we go get a coach who can play this way, who can do our vision. Then we go get players who fit this vision. And it's all according to a vision. And for better or worse, they'll stick to that. Unless it's really not working, then you try and blow it up. But the coach usually, unless it's a superstar coach, doesn't have all the power. It'll be the director of football, which is the equivalent to the GM. And what that does is, one, coaches rotate a lot more in that, so it protects you from that. But also, you say, all right, if you're not fitting what we're doing, we're going to get someone who's going to do what we need. We're not just going to be a mess. Because what you see with teams, if you want to go back to Manchester United, one of the reasons that they were a mess is they didn't do that. So they had one coach have one style. Then he gets fired. Another coach, he wants to play this style. Then he gets fired. Another coach, he wants to play this style. All of a sudden, you have all these mix and match players that are supposed to play 3 different ways, 4 different ways, that they don't mesh together. And it just turns into a mess where the new coach wants to play his style, but he can't because all these players can't play that way. So he brings in some players and it's a mismatch. What they're doing now is they're bringing in a new structure where they're actually going to do what the other teams do. And they set the vision. They say, this is what we want you to do as the coach. And then he sat down and he obviously agreed to it because he stayed on. And that's what they're going to do. And the recruitment will be based off of that and all that. That's what NBA teams should do. And the good ones, they really do that because it's a lot of it. They have a coach that they had there for a while. But look at the Heat. They always get the same type of players that they want to fit that vision. Look at Steve Kerr. He has a certain type of players he wants. Pop, he has a certain type of players he wants. And that's their long-standing vision that they stick to. The Pelicans have never had any of that. It's always been the mix and match. And then you have Willie having no identity here. We should have an identity set that's, all right, with the players we have, this is what we want. And then Willie can have some input. If he wants to play a certain way, get guys that fit that instead of trying to slot in guys that don't work, because that's what's gotten us into this mess.
And you say we don't have an identity, and that's something that I think we don't really talk about a lot with this Pels team. And before this trade happened, I was wondering what the fuck's the plan here, right? And I also feel like last year was a big step backward for us because we didn't do shit when I felt like we should have done shit. And I think that goes into your point of identity because what could we have done? What would they have wanted? And you say, oh, Willie doesn't get his guys, but I mean, I think Willie does get guys because I look at who we draft. I look at this whole thing with Trae Young. Like we've discussed earlier, Trae Young is a better player. 25 and 10 is just objectively a better player. But in terms of scheme and whatever, and he's younger, right? But you can argue, oh, Dejounte's better because of, whatever, whatever, whatever. But Trae Young, who is a top, I don't want to say top 5 point guard. I don't think he's a top 5 point guard anymore. He might be, but whatever. He's a top point guard. He's a 3-time All Star, which is more All Star appearances than everyone on our team combined, right? And this guy is telling his team or telling whoever his agent that the Pelicans are on his short list of teams to go to. The whole narrative before CJ McCollum came here, and he's even went on national TV and said it, like people don't want to come to New Orleans typically. Like you think Boogie would have went out and said, "Yeah, I wanted to go to the Pels." Never. That would never fucking happen. So the fact that we're not a free agent destination, we aren't really a trade destination. Nobody wants to request a trade here. Nobody wants to sign here in free agency. You have a guy who's a 3-time All Star, who's 25 years old, who's a top player in this league, saying, "I want to go to the Pelicans," and we just completely fucking ignore him to go get his second in command in Dejounte Murray because Dejounte Murray can play defense better. And I think that's a Willie Green identity thing. And I think also it clashes with David Griffin's identity. Because Griff has this weird infatuation with having a mixture of vets and because he valued Garrett Temple way higher than he should have ever valued him. He values CJ way higher than he should be valuing CJ nowadays because of their vet presence, because of who they are, because of their standing. But it's like I feel like that just limits your team. And I want a open minded coach. You know who's a great coach to me in that regard? Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra is going to take players. Yeah, he has his certain set of players, but I figure Eric Spoelstra can make any fucking set of players work. You know what I mean?
But I think the clash with Willie and Griffin, that's really the thing. Because if you had one vision, then for better or worse, you stuck to it, that'd be one thing. But when you have Willie, he wants his defensive minded players. He wants defense, defense, defense. He wants that. Then you have Griff bring in a guy like CJ, who he's a great player. He's a great leader, but he doesn't fit this team at all. Like, in what way does he fit what we want to do where we're forcing him to be a point guard when he's not a point guard? He's a bad defender. He doesn't fit that. We basically just say, all right, you have free reign ISO because the way this team was constructed, we just brought him in because he's a good player. At the time, it looked like a great trade, but when you boiled it down to it, he's not a point guard, and we brought him in to be a point guard. And that goes back to we don't have a vision for why are we bringing him in. If you just bring in guys because they're great, like they're great individually, it doesn't matter if they don't fit at all because you can only have 5 guys out there on the court at a time, and you've got to make them work. Just like how Brandon Ingram needs to shoot the 3 ball if he wants to be out there with Zion. Because if he's just taking up the mid range, taking up the space that Zion wants to operate in, that's redundant.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And then there's another aspect to that, and that's you have what's our new GM's name? Bryson Graham. You have this guy. You have a new GM here. And then when Trey John was here, I mean, I couldn't tell you what moves were from who. I couldn't tell you if it was a Trey John move or if it was a David Griffin move. And maybe they were, hand in hand. But I mean, how many other teams work this way? How many teams have a hierarchy where your GM isn't really your GM? He's just kind of there for contractual pieces. Where your vice president of basketball operations is there every fucking press conference. You know what I mean? Do we have that's not do we give too much power to Dave Griffin? Because I feel like his ideas with the new GM Graham's ideas with Willie Green's ideas, I mean, it's weird. And don't get me wrong, right? When CJ trade happened, I was extremely happy about it
Me too.
because we did something. And but then I look at it and I'm like, man, like I look at everything in hindsight now and I'm like, man, yeah, Dell Demps was pretty ass, but that fucking Boogie trade, in my opinion, is probably the best trade in Pelicans history because he got a guy that fit the fucking team and a really damn good one. Anthony Davis didn't want to be a center. He said, fine, you don't want to be a center? I'll go get you a motherfucker that wants to be a center. And not only will I go get you a guy who wants to be a center, I'm gonna go get you a guy who can average 25 points a game at center. And y'all two can just have fun. And that's what happened. Obviously, an injury changed the entire course of this franchise. But the CJ trade doesn't really give me those. It just felt like we just did a trade to do a trade. I remember De'Aaron Fox was on the table at the time, right? Or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but I don't think Halliburton was traded yet. I don't know if we would have been able to get De'Aaron Fox, but it is a little bit odd looking back at it that we traded for CJ to be a point guard when he's never shown that he could do that in his entire time with Portland. Even from a leader perspective, I don't even buy into his vet presence shit because Zion is having relations with a porn star. Fucking Bi is just doing whatever the hell.
High all the time.
He's high all the time. He's just doing whatever the fuck. And then that I don't know if you remember that interview. I can't remember. I think it was the one where Zion was like, "Hey, I like Dallas. That's his favorite city or whatever the fuck to travel to." And in that same interview, they asked how could you guys, limit the injuries or whatever. And then it was like BI and Zion mocked CJ because CJ, was telling him, oh, yoga and all these things to help your body. Just kind of looked at him and laughed. And it was like, this fucking guy, like, oh, yo, we ain't fucking doing that. I mean, you can't say he's vet presence when you're two young stars who get hurt frequently are just laughing at him. He's trying to tell them how to not get hurt, and they just laugh at him. They don't take the guy seriously. And I just feel like that. I think teams overblow the whole vet presence value. I think it's the biggest folly in basketball. Vet presence, vet presence, vet presence. Young motherfuckers do not care about a vet if that vet is worse than them. The reason why vet presence works so well with like a Kobe or LeBron. LeBron and Kobe could average 10 points per game today, right? And those vets, I mean, and those fucking stars are gonna listen because those guys have a resume that those guys want, you know? Griff treats fucking CJ like he got a resume like that, and it is weird. I mean, in your opinion, can you even see a world where CJ has moved this offseason?
No, I've been saying this the whole time. CJ, that's one of the reasons I'm a little bit glad that we got Murray instead of Trey because him and CJ just could not coexist. And I'd say if we get him, all right, trade CJ. I don't see any world where we trade CJ just because, especially with this whole him wanting to be here or whatever. This was his preferred destination. We're like, we took that, we saw that, we're like, okay, since you wanted to be here, here's the keys to the kingdom. You own the team.
Your team.
It really is. We just said, thank you for wanting to be here. You're the first person to ever say that, so this is your team now.
But then you can't say that because fucking Trey Young, who's a much better player than him and much younger, mind you, is coming out and saying not necessarily that the Pels are his preferred destination, but it is one of the preferred destinations. And you
I,
don't even try to, you know?
I will say, I think the not getting Trey Young, I think it goes deeper than the Willie Green one defense. I think the real reason we didn't get him is Murray was cheap, obviously. Trey Young, we would have definitely had to trade BI. This just shows that we don't want to trade BI right now. And I don't mind that actually, just because of the fact that we were able to get a player of Murray's caliber without trading him is awesome. And I think if you have that opportunity, you got to take it. But it also shows we wanted to keep BI, and we did not want to move him right now. Which, I mean, I still don't think he fits this team. I don't see the vision for that because he just plays such a different style than the rest of the team and what the rest of the team needs. But at the same time, this is something, it's like we were saying earlier, this is something that we're all hyped about because the value of this trade is incredible. We got, sorry to the Hawks, but we got Dejounte Murray for absolutely nothing. We got for two worthless picks, which maybe they'll be worth something. Maybe they'll turn into a great player, but they're not projected to be high lottery picks at all. And then our bench. So we got a starting player for that little. If you get an offer like that, you've got to accept it. So I don't know what the package for Trey Young would have looked like. I really would have loved him offensively, but only if we moved CJ to not have two turnstiles there. But it's tough because there's always going to be that lingering what if we got Trey Young, especially if this doesn't work. But at the same time, it's an A trade because of the value. We got him for nothing, and there's no risk here. So when you get that deal, take it. The real judgment now is going to be, one, how the team performs, and also what we do at the trade deadline. Because if we're looking like a contender, how does BI look? How does CJ look? And do one of them get moved? Because unless BI starts shooting threes and they perfectly mesh, someone's going to have to be moved. So what move do we make, or do we not make a move at all? Because we are now we opened up a window where we're trying to contend, or at least be a better team than we have been. What move do we make at the deadline when we have an expiring CJ and we have a BI that we probably don't want to give a max to?
You know, you said something that triggered something in me, and that was the contracts. I gotta say, I don't even really like the value of the CJ contract anymore. I don't think I liked it back then too much, but I wasn't really bothered by it. But how old is CJ? 32, 33? Yeah, he had a great season last year when he was a fucking third option, third, fourth option. But like, I mean, you gotta even look at it from his perspective. He can extend his fucking career by years if he just goes to the goddamn bench. And I don't know if that's what he cares about. But as far as contract goes, I can see a world. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if we just let one of them or maybe both of them just walk, right? And I compare that to the Jonas. Yes, honestly, Jonas isn't as valuable as those two guys, whatever. Letting Jonas walk for jack shit is unacceptable to me because I think at the All Star break or before the All Star break, considering how they treated Jonas after that, they already fucking knew they were not going to bring him back. So why the hell did you not get rid of him then? He's on an expiring deal. I'm sure some team would have fucking extended him. There's plenty of teams. I mean, hell, look at the Lakers. You could have snagged another pick or anything from them, and you just let him walk. Letting Najee Marshall walk. Well, I don't think that's that big of a deal. But still, I mean, we have this weird thing with these contracts where it's like we don't want to, and maybe that's just because I just play 2K way too fucking much. I think you're supposed to get assets and flip them all the time, and you never let a player walk for free. But I just if you extend CJ, he has to take less money in my eyes. But are they gonna give him less money? Probably not. And you say, what does BI look like? I don't really know if BI wants to be here at the deadline. There is nothing about his character that has shown me that when shit like this happens, he's gonna be a guy that's like, oh, let me prove everybody wrong. Because he said he was gonna take more threes, and he didn't. And you say, BI doesn't fit. Man, my biggest folly with fucking Brandon Ingram was believing that he could change. And I guess I get it from, whenever, a woman gets cheated on over and over again, but keeps on going back to him because they love him and they believe him. He could change. That's how I felt about BI. Really until he just shit himself so bad in the playoffs. I was like, oh yeah, fuck this guy. But I believed in he's a tall, lengthy wing who looked like he wanted to give a fuck on defense now. So he bought into that aspect of his game. His efforts seem to be higher. And then at the same time, he can shoot threes, but he just doesn't want to do it. I mean, I think he can fit on the team if he just moves off ball and becomes kind of like a Klay Thompson. Move off ball, shoot a fucking three. Or you can come off a screen and sit in the mid range, whatever. But I don't know, man. Maybe that's my mistake for thinking that. And I don't see why he just wouldn't do it. I don't understand it. And I don't know, it's weird, man. It's weird. He's a weird guy. I don't I think he can still fit if he makes the changes like that, but considering he wants a max contract even after what the fuck happened at the end of the season, I don't think he's a guy that's going to say, "Yeah, I'm going to just change my entire play style to fit this team better." But the best player I've seen do that was Brook Lopez. Shout out to Brook Lopez for extending his career by however many fucking years. Brook Lopez would not be in the fucking league if he was the same Brook Lopez from the Nets, just a in the paint bruiser. He understood, well, shit, if I want to be valuable to teams, I got to start shooting this three. So, BI got to understand if he wants to be valuable or if he wants to stay, he got to start shooting some damn threes.
And hey, you know what? We've been linked to Brook Lopez. That's the kind of vet presence we need. Somebody who will, one, instill some accountability, and two, he is evidence of the whole process we need, where he put in the work to change his game and look at the results he got. He's someone that, yeah, he was never a superstar, but people listened to him because he can testify to, hey, if you do this, look what it'll do for you. That's exactly what we need.
But the question is, it's really tough to trade with the Bucks right now. They're over the apron team. They're not in a good spot. I don't like their chances. Their future is bleak. Their picks are weak. Well, their picks are kind of strong because their future looks weak, but they don't really have many. They're locked into all this money. I mean, isn't it funny that honestly Brandon Ingram could have a career trajectory like Chris Middleton at this point? That's wild to think.
Man, the Bucks. I said this when they made the trade. Getting rid of Drew Holiday was a terrible move for them.
I don't understand that one, man. I don't get it.
He was the glue to what they did defensively. That was such a Pelicans move. You go get the flashy player that does not fit at all. Because, damn, great offensive player. He is not what they needed at all. I mean, just look at it. It didn't work. And not only that, they inadvertently traded Drew Holiday to the Celtics.
And they win the fucking final.
But hey, shout out Drew getting another ring.
Drew Holiday, man. It's really tragic that the two guys that we traded out both have rings now, and we're just kind of sitting here like, well, can we make it out of the first round? But there's no player that deserves it more than fucking Drew Holiday, man. He's a class act. I love the guy to death. I would love to see him back in the Pelicans uniform. I really would. I Can you imagine Drew Holiday, Dejounte Murray, and Herb Jones all on the same team?
Oh, man, that would be fun. And I think he will be back in a Pelicans uniform to retire. I mean, we're not going to get much out of him, but I think there's a very good chance that we bring him back because, one, we're obsessed with vet presences, but two, I mean, that would be the perfect. If Griff wants to go get a vet, go in a few years when Drew's just a bench player, go get him and let him retire here because he loves it here. That's the kind of vet we should be targeting, not a Garrett Temple who, no disrespect to him, what has he done?
He ain't even a Udonis Haslam. He don't even have that type of pull. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's from Baton Rouge, but it's like, come on, man. Let's be real about the situation. I mean, I agree with you, man. Drew Holiday would be the perfect vet. And shout out to Brad Stevens and company, man, because they do not fall for that bullshit. They don't. They trade away Marcus Smart, who Marcus Smart himself probably thought he was untouchable because of that vet presence bullshit. Like, oh yeah, I play defense. I'm a scrappy guy. I hustle hard, and
I flop.
yeah, I flop, and I've been here for the bad. I'm here for the good. Like, yeah, and then they like, thanks. Have fun in Memphis, bozo. Like, I mean, that's I love that. I love that mentality. And then they go and get Porzingis. They just went and go get guys that fit. They went and go get guys who were going to make the better, and they were not afraid to get rid of guys who had that mentality, like Mark Smart. Like, oh, because I feel like right now CJ has a Mark Smart mentality. I'm safe no matter what. When he should not be safe no matter what. So this gonna be the last two things. Then we're gonna get up out of here.
I just like how this is supposed to be quick. It's like, oh, we're just reacting to the trade. This will be quick. Then you realize, no, it's the Pelicans. You can talk about them for hours.
Yeah, literally, we actually did a whole pod. Hey, that's bonus coverage for the people, man. That's perfect. They can enjoy that. Y'all can listen to that on the way to work or whatever. That's beautiful. But we have a little short clips that can come out of this. But two things. As far as centers go, I know we went away from the center topic a long time ago, but I'm gonna just double back to it. As far as centers go, I would like to put out some names. I think I had Jared Allen on there. I'm fine. Whatever. I had Nick Claxton on there. Those two guys are out now. I have Andre Drummond on the list. I have Porzingis on the list. I got Walker Kessler, Jalen Duran, Mark Williams. I have those guys on the list. DeAndre Ayton is on the list now. So the question is, how possible? Oh, and Brooke Lopez, of course. So that's number one. How possible is it to get any of those guys? Because Yves Missy cannot be your starter. At least not now. Cody Zeller's gonna be gone. Jonas is gone. We just need one more guy.
Hey, he's
He
our
doesn't have to
Messi
be a
though.
world.
That's our Messi right there.
No, no, he's just a mess. That's what he is. He's not no mess. He's just a mess. Don't Pels fans, don't check his draft profile. You're gonna get yourself pissed off. Don't do it. And the second thing, don't fucking remember what the second thing was. That's fine. We just keep it on the center thing.
Well, I'll close it out with this. I get when we're talking about just how we're sitting on our hands, I get the inverse is Dell Dimps, where you just keep making terrible moves because you're constantly trying to win now and you cripple the organization. Obviously, we don't want to be that, but it doesn't have to be the complete opposite. Like, there is a happy medium that we can hit, and it's tough. Like, if every team knew exactly what to do, then every team would be incredible. But we're at the point where we love to always wait and see. It's like this past year, we're like, no, we need to have a full year with Zion and BI. We have to see how they work together. Just always wait and see. We're waiting and seeing if BI will shoot threes. We're waiting and seeing if this will work. That's fine to an extent because you don't want to make a bunch of stupid moves. We're past that point now. And I think the Murray trade is signaling that some. But the fact is, that's something to celebrate. We got an incredible deal. We fleeced the Hawks. But moving forward now, the questions, like the ESPN article said, how does BI fit? You can also say how CJ fits. Those are good questions to have because if they don't fit, we can move them for other pieces. But we have to be ready to make that move quickly. We have to evaluate and see, all right, this is what we want to be like going forward. And we got to be ready to make that move. We're past the sit on your hands point. Now is where we do something with it.
Well, I think it's about time that we make our own moves. We ain't gonna sit on our hands and we're gonna get up out of here. We've been yapping for a little minute. We don't endured some hardships with this one. But I mean, when do we ever have a just a smooth sailing ass recording, right? Appreciate y'all for listening. Shout out to Dave for coming in on this emergency podcast.
Emergency
See
podcast that
y'all
turned
next
into a whole episode.
Literally though, this was not planned. See, this should show y'all that we really true in our content, that we don't script anything. We came out here, hey, a little 10-minute episode. We sit here talking for like 2 hours. Got any final words for us, Dave?
Hey, let's just celebrate that Pels finally made a good move and we're winning the championship.
There you go. Hey, I'm gonna co-sign it, but I'm gonna leave it there. I haven't had to say none of that. We're winning the championship. Saints gonna be in the Super Bowl in 2025 in New Orleans. And that same year, Pelicans win it too. It's gonna be monumental for the city.
And then the world will
That's
end
it.
because the Saints and Pels had success in the same year.
Hell has frozen over. But we're gonna get up out of here. Catch y'all next time. Remember, like, share, comment, tell all your friends, your people, family, everybody. Hell, even tell your dog. Appreciate y'all. We out of here.
See you.